Swan Canning Estuary is a haven for biodiversity and supports a wide range of aquatic and terrestrial species. Some 200 species of fish inhabit these waterways, taking advantage of the various habitats, both natural and man-made, that the river provides. To understand environmental changes to the river system, DBCA monitors the river and estuaries. In partnership with MurdochUniversity, the department runs the Fish Community Index.
Since 2012, the department has worked with the university to undertake the monitoring. So on an annual basis in summer and autumn, the university will work with DBCA staff to go out and take the fish samples in both the nearshore and the offshore waters across 4 different zones within the waterway.
The Fish Community Index was designed by a colleague of mine, Dr. Chris Hallett, during his PhD at Murdoch. And what he did was look at the various indices of estuarine health around the world and design a system that matches with the best practice of those. So what we do at the start is we work out a whole bunch of metrics. This is like a signal. So if you go to the doctor, they measure your BMI or your blood pressure, you get a score for that and you're good or bad on the scale. So what we did is find a whole bunch of metrics like the number of species, the number of fish that eat fish. Score all those, so a high score is good, a low score is bad, and that gives us a signal from healthy to unhealthy. We've gone back to data collected by Murdoch in the 1970s, and then we can build a set of reference conditions. And the metrics that we use to calculate the FCI scores are all spatially and temporally scaled. So that means we know that the distribution of fish changes along that salinity gradient, and we know it changes between summer and autumn, and actually winter and spring as well, which is why we only run the index in certain seasons. And when we're comparing those scores, we relate back to the scores in that region.
We monitor the fish communities in the nearshore habitats. So these are like your beaches, and we use a fine mesh seine net to capture mostly the juvenile and species that occupy the shallower waters. When we undertake the beach netting, the larger fish that we capture are released on site, whereas a lot of the smaller fish are a lot harder to identify. So these species are kept to give us an overall indication of the health of the different species within those nearshore habitats.
And so we generally get left with all these small species which I need to be able to ID back in the lab because they look so identical, and some of them we just have to ID by how long their jaw is or their swim bladders. So those process, we can't do that in the field, that has to come back to here. Then when we process all the fish back in here in the lab, we write a report that is then overseen by DBCA, and that we have put out a final report of the health of the Swan River using the fish index.
One of the powers that government has is the ability to do long-term monitoring. And with things like the Fish Community Index, which has been going for over a decade now, and the department's seagrass monitoring and water quality monitoring, we can put together these long time scale projects, and they are all interrelated. And so this is where working with people like DBCA is really good. They want good science, they want to get it done, but they really care about the outcomes and the health of the river, and I think make a huge difference.
In addition to the small fish species taken and processed in a laboratory, the research also involves placing gill nets in deep water to gauge the number and variety of fish species. These fish are generally identified and released back into the water.
When we're looking at the fish communities, we're not just looking at those recreational fish in there, and we're not looking at the stocks of the fish that's inside there. You're actually looking at how the whole ecosystem works together.
The Swan Canning River Park is the state's #1 heritage item, so we need to look after it. And waterway monitoring is a really important part of the management of that system.